Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Demongate, #1 from Serious Comics. It was made in 1996 and there's lots to go into. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. I produce a 12-page, full-size, full-color comic, and I do that mainly for Patreons. You can get this for $3 at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin. And it often has backup artists and guest artists and cover artists and back cover artists and stuff like that. And I also have Mutanus, which you can get at alexanderturbin.com, which you can get everything at alexanderturbin.com that I have. And yeah, or you could just check these out at by messaging me at alexturbin04401 at instagram.com. So let's get into Demongate. I don't think I had read this back in 1990, whatever it was, 1996. I don't think I really was into all that much serious stuff then. I really think of Sirius as really only for Dawn and Cry for Dawn and stuff like that, and that's really what I knew them for. I didn't really get a lot of their other comics, and I didn't really get any of Barry Blair's work either back in the day. I really wish I had. I have a few, but it was like I've said before that I would not be able to find a lot of these stuff. I mean, they weren't on the book racks or anything at your local drugstore or whatever. You had to seek these out at your local comic book store, and we didn't have one until I was, I don't know, 16 or 17 or something like that. So it's something that I would have to search and find, and it just wasn't on my radar. But it really is now, because Demongate is it's an unusual read, and I have a few qualms with it, and I think they're basically things that have probably already been said by Barry Blair, but this is actually written and drawn by Bao Lin Hum and Steve Blevins. Now, Steve Blevins went on to work on ElfQuest, and you know that Barry Blair is actually Bao Lin Hum. He's not Asian. He just used that as a pseudonym, and I don't know. I think this is one of his later works where it went more and more into a pornographic thing, and really, it's very fascinating. Excuse me. Not that it's pornographic, but that it's very childlike, and this actually doesn't have any kind of nudity in it, and which is very good, because it does have a lot of children, and that is very disconcerting if you have pornography with children, of course. So let's get into the story, and then we can talk about the art and the writing and everything like that. So I really wish I had checked out more of these, because I really like it. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get any more because of the whole borderline child eroticism. There's no nudity in it, like I said, but there is definitely child eroticism in it, and that's just not something that I would support. Even though their art is beautiful, but we'll get into that first. Let's get into the story. It's just a character walking towards the reader, and I think Barry Blair is very influenced by Mobius and manga and all that kind of thing, and this is something that both of those would do. It's quiet. This whole book is very quiet and not really action packed. It's not boring, certainly, but it also is very much on the quiet side, which is, I kind of like that, especially at the beginning, because, I mean, you could have had this starting out as a fight scene or whatever, but it's just this character walking towards you. And this is much different than any of the other Barry Blair stuff that I have read, and it is it's very lightly inked, and the gray tones are very light. The other stuff that I read of Barry Blair, where the gray tones are just like cover everything and nothing has any kind of texture, and it's just everything looks exactly the same, and that this book does not have that problem at all. And the second page, he's walking along, still walking, and he looks to his side, and he's jumped by this creature, and they have this sword fight, and the young character kills the creature, and the other creatures, I guess there's more than one creature, and he just whips out his samurai sword, and he just starts killing these creatures, and fights them back, and he's dispersed all of them, and he puts back his very long sword. Daisho, I can't remember what the long one is. Tachi is the long one, the Tachi. Anyway, he makes his way back into a cave or a hut, hovel, something, and there's an old man, and they have this conversation of it's basically the telling of the previous story where he was banished by the queen. He never says evil, I don't think, and he uses magic, but he's a wizard. He's the master, and the kid is the apprentice. And so he just keeps saying that he's a fool, and kind of just talks about the story of how the queen is bad, and I don't know. He had a falling out with the queen, I guess, and it ends with him just saying that he's an old fart. And then it starts up where a stupid old fart, only it's a different location. He didn't have to say anything. Didn't have to say miles away or anything like that. You just kind of knew. Especially it's odd because because the mountain here, the mountaintop here looks similar to the mountaintop there. So you could be very easily confused. I kind of wish that it had been a silhouette. All of this could have been dark, and it could have been a silhouette, a more silhouette of this more tower-like thing, and not the previous mountaintop. So then you have the introduction of the queen, and she's very scantily clad, but that's okay. And you've got this other wizard, and they're talking about their immortality, how they suck the life out of these children. This is super reminiscent of the Dark Crystal. The characters are over the top, kind of bigger. The only difference is the queen is kind of the evil queen, and she's kind of beautiful, whereas the wizard is very much like the Skeksis, and the children that they suck the life out of are in tubes, and so it's very much like the Dark Crystal, and the children are very Dark Crystal-y like looking. I'm sure he Barry Blair or Bowlin really loved the Dark Crystal, of course. Who wouldn't? It's a wonderful movie and great TV show too on Netflix. So they just have a discussion about there's a prophecy, and so many of these books have prophecies, and I'm done with prophecies. I'm not into prophecies. I feel like it's a weak story driver, and there's just it feels weak and kind of short-sighted. So they talk about a prophecy of somebody who's going to come along and cause an upheaval and stuff. So it ends with that, and then there's crack of electricity, and it's really a thunderstorm. The changes of scenery and changes of panels, panel transitions are great. Page transitions. Like I said, you have the old fart in this one location, and then you have he's an old fart in this other location. You've got this electricity. You've got a thunderstorm. It's all really great transitions. Something you might see out of Highlander or something like that, or Watchmen. Alan Moore does great scene transitions, and that's one of the great things that I love about all of Alan Moore's comics. So, and it's in the middle of the ocean. This is very reminiscent of Sin City, where it's very dark and yet lots of negative space or positive space, really kind of intermingling. So you have a captain of a ship. You assume it's our world. You assume that this was another world, kind of like Dark Crystal, and then this is our world. I don't know why this girl is so scantily clad. She says later on that she's a dancer and that she's a teacher of the children. Still very odd. I don't know why she's in her underwear. Maybe she just got out of the ship and she was sleeping, because they're all in their tidy whities, and because the ship starts to sink, and if she is the teacher or whatever, she goes to the rest of the children and tries to get them to the lifeboat to save them. And there's this other guy that's come along, not the purser. He's just some or the other character, some other worker on the boat or something like that. Anyway, they make it to the lifeboat, and the kid says, "Slow, you got to slow down." And the sailor is like, "Slow down, we're sinking. Slow is not the order of the day." So he makes a mistake. One side goes cockeyed, and they all fall into the ocean, and they're all swimming around, and there's some sort of whale, although it doesn't look very whalish. And then when they rise up in the out of the water, and they come across it's sunlight, and they're in a different world. They come from a pool of water, and we all assume as the reader that it's the original different reality, different dimension or whatever, where the evil queen is and where the samurai kid is and the old wizard. But as soon as they come through, the queen realizes this. There's like alarms, I guess, that the crazy old the bad wizard has set up to kind of let everybody know what happens when these characters come through. Reminiscent of the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. I think it's still a little too tropish for my taste. And then the old good wizard, he also knows. So basically, everyone's trying to find these 3 human characters, and so that's basically how it ends. They're walking along. They get out of this little lagoon that they're in, and there's some warriors of the evil queen, because the warriors say that you are to be consumed. So that's how the story ends. So let's get into the writing. I don't know what the division is between Barry Blair or Bao Lin Hum. I'm going to just call him Barry Blair, because it looks like Barry Blair's art, but at the same time, Steve Blevins, it looks like his art too. So you really can't tell what the division of labor is. Maybe they just, I don't know who inks, who pencils, whether they just go back and forth. It's all very seamless. You can't tell that it's 2 different people. So I'm kind of thinking that Barry Blair did the pencils and Blevins did the inks. Let's talk about the art first, because the art really, I love the art. The art is beautiful. If it wasn't for the erotic children, because I mean, look at this. It's you don't know how old this character is, but he has a master, so he's young, and I mean, it's just this too scantily clad. All of the children are just way too scantily clad for my taste, but it's beautifully drawn. The line work is so slim, and yet you have some really dark grays, which really makes the line work pop. All of the line work is really beautiful. The characters, the expressions, like I've said before, they're all very unique and very beautifully drawn. Lots of really nice line work, lots of nice texture. The only thing a problem I really have is the backgrounds. You have this page, which has some really nice backgrounds, and this page, but other than that, like, I guess the very beginning has some really nice backgrounds. Maybe they get comic fatigue, where as you go deeper into the book, they're there's less details. Like this, the background for this is a little weak, and it's just the backgrounds kind of taper off, I feel. Especially this one. This is just, I feel like he just went into the airbrush and didn't even pencil it maybe at all. Although this is really nice. So it's kind of a conundrum. It's got some nice rain, and I mean, that's all the backgrounds you need. And here's some nice water. But at the same time, I don't know. I guess that's a minute criticism of the book, that the backgrounds are slightly weak. I think I just wish that this has had a little bit more detail, and this kind of thing had a little bit more detail. But overall, I really love the art. The art is really fantastic, and I really truly wish that the subtext of the children eroticism wasn't there, because look at this beautiful face. All of these faces, they're all completely different and yet slightly the same. I mean, he draws children beautifully. He does draw them beautifully, and it's very difficult to draw kids. It's hugely difficult, and he does it wonderfully. He has all of these different emotions, all of these different faces, and it's really beautifully done. It's just so horribly sad that it turned into the child eroticism. If they were regular adults, I would be, it's cool, whatever. It's eroticism has its place, and its time, its place, and I certainly enjoy a lot of it. But anyway, it's look at this. This is some nice background, but that is the whole thing. But this right here kind of is a little weak. So he kind of flip-flops back and forth as to if he's going to put the attention of detail into it. And I simply love the slim little line work that he's done on these. It's probably some of the best work that I've seen of Barry Blair's, which I think he's a pretty good artist. I just think he delved too deeply into the airbrush backgrounds or airbrush gray tones and stuff like that, and it just kind of maybe didn't ruin his art, but it certainly puts it on a level that I don't think is the greatest. Writing wise, the story relies a little bit too heavily on the trope of having a prophecy, like I said, it's not stale, it's not bland. It's kind of interesting, if not for the things that I've said before of not wanting to get more issues of this. I probably would get more issues of this because the art is so beautiful and the writing is pretty good. It's pretty stereotypical stuff. There's nothing groundbreaking, but it's enough to pique my curiosity as to what's going on. It's like the Dark Crystal. The Dark Crystal wasn't this groundbreaking story, but it's had its unique, unusual parts that really made it pop in pretty much culture and subculture and stuff like that, where people are into that kind of stuff. I really love this panel. What could I give this as a grade? The writing, like I said, is pretty standard fare. The art is fantastic. I really love it. But the child eroticism really puts me off. Just for that one thing, I think I'm going to have to give this a 4. If not for that, I probably would give this a 7 or 8, maybe 8.5, because there's so much good things going on for it. I love the cover. Sirius put out a lot of really great stuff. This Akiko and Wandering Star, I haven't read either one of those, but I certainly would pick them up if I saw them. I'm going to give it a 3, maybe a 4. If you guys have this, let me know. If the child eroticism develops into a pornography, or if you guys are into this kind of thing, let me know. Let me know what you guys think of the art. I really think it's beautiful, very Mobius-esque, very manga-esque, but it's very beautifully done. And it's if not for that one thing, I think I would really enjoy this book. But if you guys like this kind of content, please hit the subscription button, hit the notification button, and leave a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. And I thank you guys for watching and for delving into these unusual comics with me. And I will see you guys next time.